Hi, if you or your children are suffering because of your relationship with your ex partner, because it's stressed or strained, or maybe they're just not a nice person, this show is for you. Welcome to the High Conflict Co Parenting Podcast with Brooke Olson and Charlie Jewett. Enjoy another episode now. Hey, everybody, Brooke Olson and Charlie Jewett here with the High Conflict Co Parenting Podcast. Hope you enjoyed the first 50 episodes. We made it through half of 100, Brooke. That's pretty awesome, isn't it?
I'm having a ball. This is getting better and better. And, again, every week I get phone calls. I get somebody that isn't a professional that's listening to this calling me saying, just really getting a lot out of this stuff. And it just, it fills me up because this information is important stuff for people to get better, to get their life straightened out, to just get some continuity in their world. So I'm loving it.
On the Renovating Retirement podcast I have, which is 3 years old, I started to get a lot of calls from professionals and other financial advisors and agents. I didn't realize that was happening for you. You're actually getting the same kind of thing, other, therapists and counselors and stuff?
Yeah. I've got people reaching out, wanting to know what we're doing here a little bit more, passing along to their clients. They're finding value in it. It's all good.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to keep it going. We talked about this for years before even starting it, and with all the success of the show and how many people we're helping, we're certainly not thinking of stopping, but continuing, treading on, helping as many people as we can. We're going to go with episode 51, Here Kitty Kitty, which I really can't say with a straight voice. I have to say, Here Kitty Kitty Kitty, right? Yep. Here Kitty Kitty, the conflict trap. Most people don't call their cat to trap them, but what are we talking about today? I love your titles. No one ever knows what they mean until you explain them, kind of like a strange piece of art. So each one of your titles is some sort of a mural or whatever. But what do you mean by this Here Kitty Kitty, the conflict trap?
So this is where somebody will entice you into close. Go, here, kitty, kitty, come here. I got you a treat. This is going to be really good. Here's a nice treat for you. And you come in and then they smack you.
So it's like a version of don't take candy from strangers because they're going to offer you something attractive and then do something really bad, right?
Right.
This is kind of the bait and switch, not for selling you something. Well, it could be, but for controlling us or whatever.
Right. Well, and it is for selling us something. It's for selling us the conflict. It's for keeping us hooked in, and for this arena of trying to find a different way to get to us. And being nasty sometimes when we start to set the boundaries in place, when we start saying no, when we start reinforcing those boundaries and pushing back a little bit into, I'm not going to be controlled, I'm not going to be run over, this is the boundary, this is where we go. And they'll start to come in and be nice where they have never been nice before, and they'll try to get us to slip into old patterns. It's like, okay, they get it. I don't want to fight. They know I don't want to fight. We're just going to get along, kumbaya, and all of that. And then all of a sudden, we step into it. We get caught back in the trap, and then the old cycle starts again.
Interesting. We've talked about a lot of different ways. There's definitely a desire inside of these guys, the type of person that we have on the other side of these relationships or marriages, to keep us in that fight and to not divorce completely. Like the complete divorce would be, we don't have to talk anymore, or like we're not engaged in these back and forths anymore. It's very sterile and very businesslike if it has to, right?
Right.
But they kind of found something from the conflict or the control in the relationship, and now that it's over, they want to keep some of it, right?
Right, absolutely. They want to keep it. It is their food. It's what they live for, and it is, again, we've talked about this many times. It's a continuation of the relationship that they've lost, and this is the way that they hold on to it. And really, it's going from nasty to nice and back to nasty. So what we're really trying to do in this conversation is change the landscape of the conflict. When we are unconsciously trying to keep the peace, it creates a lot of chaos. There's a lot of incongruity. We're just stepping back and we're not holding boundaries. We're letting this cycle continue to run us over. So what happens, again, is we set boundaries. And then we let the boundaries get crossed. And when the boundaries are crossed, the boundaries are lost.
Yeah.
And if we do this enough, we create an environment in which our boundaries mean nothing. And they're going to virtually stay unrespected forever. Intermittent reinforcement is the piece that we're really trying to narrow in on this conversation about. Intermittent reinforcement is deadly. It is the place where your boundaries will just fly out the window. And next time you set them, they're going to go, oh, they don't mean it. If I press hard enough, long enough, they'll collapse. And the next time you set the boundary again, it's like, okay, I'm going to hold the boundary. I'm going to hold this back. I'm not going to let it happen again. And you hold it longer this time, and then you let the boundary get crossed.
Yeah.
And it gets lost again. So intermittent reinforcement works in the human brain much like it works in the brain of a rat. And they've done studies on rats around this. And what they've done is they'll set up a machine that has food where the rats can come in and free feed.
Yeah.
Rats will all get around there and they'll eat and they'll eat and they'll eat and they'll know that this is where the food is. And then the researcher will turn off the machine. And at some point, the rats disperse and they go to try to find their food someplace else. And they leave the machine alone. And then the researcher will come back in and they'll turn on the machine again. One of the rats will come around, sniff it out, and they'll start eating at the machine again. And they'll let the rats eat at the machine for a period of time. And then they'll shut it off. But they'll shut it off longer this time. And as they shut it off longer, the rats hang around longer waiting for the food. Then they'll disperse. The rats will go away and they'll let the rats go away for a period of time. Then they'll turn on the machine again.
Yeah.
And the rats will come back and start to feed. And then they'll turn off the machine and the rats will stay there until they starve.
Wow. So just the rewarding of behavior, the staying there till they starve part is crazy. I mean, what we're going to see in our exes or someone on the other side that's being a pill, they can be very, very patient if we've trained them that if you wait long enough or push hard enough, we'll eventually give in, right?
Right. And I've never thought about this, and I just sit here thinking about this analogy that we're talking about, and saying that, you know, this conflict is rat food.
Yeah. Good analogy, right?
Right. It's rat food.
Well, we have the rat tangle, and then we have the rat food. Why don't we just write a whole rat-based book of rat analogies, right?
Right. Well, the next piece is when we're setting the boundaries and we enforce those and we just hold them. It's kind of like rat poison, isn't it?
How about this? How to Survive Your Divorce If Your Ex is a Rat by Brooke Olson and Charlie Jewell.
Okay, now we're getting into judgment. Yeah. But it is. I mean, it's really an enticing concept, isn't it?
It is.
So it is, what we're doing is we're starving them out. And if we do this long enough, they will leave. And if we leave the food off, they will disperse and go find their food someplace else. And this is the place where we have to hang out. And again, what we're drawn to, in this is to be peaceful. Most of the clients that I have don't want to have to be rigid. They want to be flexible. They want to work through anything, because the lack of flexibility on some level keeps them from doing things that they want to do sometimes, or having things in a different way. But we know in a high conflict situation that the moment we become flexible is the moment we get bent over.
Yeah.
And, you know, what's happening with the other person, and I think that this is really important, is we start to set the boundaries. And their reaction to us setting the boundaries is panic, because they're starting to feel the control that they've usurped on us slip away. And as they start to feel that chaos that comes along with the experience of losing control, they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. This keeps popping into my head. I don't even know if it fits exactly what we're talking about, but it's popping into my head because somebody said, you know, if this rat found a place to get food somewhere else, they may not wait until they die, right? And I'm sure for some of our listeners, the greatest news they've ever received is that their ex had a new partner and that abuse got turned to that person. I mean, I know a relationship where it was awful, and then the ex married someone 20 years younger than them, and it got peaceful, and we're like, well, guess who's getting it now? You know, found another way to eat.
Right. And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't, because sometimes when that new partner comes in, that other person has a conflict orientation, they have a drama orientation, and this becomes their food too. And
they
now
gang up on them, right?
Gang up and try to bring this in.
Yeah. You got to cross your fingers when that. I mean, I kind of wish my ex would get back with somebody so I could kind of see what would happen, you know. But it is sort of a coin toss where they both gang up on us or turn their control and angst towards each other and kind of leave us alone a little bit. We're kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Well, that's the idea. And again, if we can hold that boundary long enough, they will turn on themselves, and that's where the conflict will come. And that's the place where you can finally start to step out. It's not that they're having fun and they've got another place to do it, but they don't have an external place to place that chaos and that conflict.
I'm sure it's like the bully that wants the lunch money and then the feeling of getting it, and you can either punch him in the nose and stand up to him, or not have any lunch money and let them beat you up over and over again until they're like, this is boring. I mean, I'm not getting any money. That if they're not getting what they want, if you're able to set your boundaries that way, where you're holding your integrity and they're not getting what they want, all creatures eventually get bored, you know what I mean? Or like tired, they reach a limit of trying for some reward that's not coming intermittently.
Right. And, you know, to use the lunch money analogy with the bully, it's like, rather than coming to school with lunch money, prepay your lunch and not have any money in your pocket. Like, hey, you got no money.
Yeah. Which is so, it's so Brooke, it's so practical. It's like, oh, you guys are having conflict at the drop-off. Don't do your drop-offs. Have someone else do them. You're not enjoying the emails they're writing. Don't read the emails. Have someone read them for you, right?
Solve the problem.
Someone's stealing your lunch money. Don't have lunch money. It's like, would you get beat up once or twice? Yeah, or walk around school with your pockets out. You know what I mean? Just walk around school with your pockets out, and then don't be a target.
Right. So as we're sitting in this panic of the other person, as their control is slipping away, our experience is the chaos that's created while they're trying to do everything to get you back into it. So there's this cycle of panic, or this cycle of anxiety that happens. And what we have to be testing in this is, what is our tolerance to the chaos and to the personal discomfort? What is our tolerance? I was with a client a couple of days ago, and she hates coming in to see me because I always tell her stuff that she doesn't want to hear. And she's in a high conflict divorce, and they're battling over custody, and there's substance abuse involved on the other parent's part. And, you know, part of what I told her is you have to learn how to experience and tolerate terror, because there's an internal terror that's taking place when she has to let the kids go with this other parent, and there's nothing that they can do about it. I mean, this is something that has to occur. And learning how to experience that is, to some people, it's intolerable. And what we're trying to do is know that this is what we're doing, know that it's an internal experience, know that by and large, over time, this is going to find its way out. And the more that we stay out of it, the less we get pulled in by the here kitty kitty the nice, because this guy has tried everything to try to break down the boundary. And this woman's doing an amazing job of holding her boundaries around what's going on. But, you know, he's nasty, he's nice, he's flexible, he's inflexible, he's all over the map, and she's just solid. But her statement to me is I don't know how long I can do this. And my statement to her is just as long as you have to. And that's
a great answer, right? It's a great answer, because she's had what she needed every day to do it up until this point, and it's still going on, which means it should be going on, right? Which is hard to hear, but I mean, it's really hard to hear some of the things that you say and some of the truth, right? But to be in terror, you have to have made a judgment ahead of time that this is not good for the kids, or that it's not for their best spiritual well-being, or that people shouldn't suffer. And that's a very narrow picture of the life experience. Whereas the reality is, these things exist in the world, right? And it's a part of who we all become, because sometimes we see things we don't want to be like and go, I will never do that. And it's becoming a very important part of our lives to see somebody act that way, right?
And, you know, that's a spiritual conversation that we have, and we're sitting here and we're talking about that karmic journey of the kids, and that idea that, you know, this is good for them. Well, you know, the truth of the matter is on one level, it is good for them. There is a place where there is damage being done, that there is stuff that's happening that is not ideal for them. And then if we can switch back, and you and I talk about this all the time, and I've had conversations in my classes for many years around this, is that those things that happen are oftentimes the things that when they can overcome them, it changes everything.
Right.
And what we're trying to do again is, you know, epigenetically change the expression of who we are, so that changes down the road with our children. So as we create that tolerance, as they see that tolerance, as they see where we can settle and not get rattled when things are hard, then they know that they can be settled when things get hard, and they can tolerate it because they've had a model of somebody that has created that with them.
Yeah.
And when I say with them, I really mean that, because we are co-creating this with our children. You know, the tolerance that we have at that place where we're not explosive, we're trying to manipulate or trying to change, is modeling a steadiness for them that is directly transferable to their nervous system, and they can become steady no matter what.
Yeah. Really interesting.
Yeah. And you know, when we're in this place of high anxiety, of really cresting up against the edges of our tolerance to some of this stuff, what we're experiencing in this consistently is, and I hear these words every single day, is I just want to make it stop. When will it stop? And this knowledge that it's going to stop when it stops. It's not going to stop a moment before it stops. And when it stops, it will stop. And just to rest into that, to go, okay, this will stop at some point. This isn't going to last forever. That's a given. 100%. This isn't going to last forever. Even if it lasts this lifetime, it's not going to last forever.
Yeah. Yep.
But there's going to come a place where this will stop, and it will stop sooner. It will stop in a more abrupt moment when it does, as long as we can stay out of this intermittent reinforcement and the trap that comes along with it.
Right. So you can't make it stop, but you have some control to not keep it going, to make it stop sooner. You still won't know when.
Right.
But you can make it not last as long as it would without being purposeful.
Right.
About not providing the intermittent, throwing them a cookie here and there, they're going to keep wanting the cookie. You know what I mean? It's like, this is very similar to the people that have broken up, but the guy wants to still hook up sexually or whatever. And from time to time, the ex will give in, to be just a crude analogy, but
it's not always the guy either.
Yeah, there you go. Good point.
Let's be clear about that.
Very good point. Like, if you're the one who gives in and gives that other person the hope that sometimes this works, right? Or you can still have me without the commit, whatever it is, right? That may be a place in people's heads where they go, oh, it's like that, right? There's something satisfying and pleasurable about this ex doing the things to you they do, hurting you or controlling you or whatever. And if every now and then you give in, it's going to last way longer than it needs to.
Right. But each time we engage, we lengthen it. Each time that we step in and we let that boundary go, we lengthen the time that it's going to take for it to stop exponentially.
This is crazy. I'm in San Diego, and it's really sort of popular here to talk about the Navy SEALs, because they have this horrible training program that, like, most people just quit, and the people that make it are quite special and unique individuals, right? Do you think there's any human being on the planet that's ever become a Navy SEAL basically without the environment, the group, the coaches and the other people and the structure, like just on their own, they were able to do it?
Absolutely not.
Like, part of human experience is you can't do the hard stuff on your own, or else it's really not the hard stuff, right? So, I mean,
if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
That's what average means, like, can be done without real effort or extra effort or unique environment, because you're offering you get a unique environment, either in conversations with you or in people listening to the podcast or in the classes that I take with you. And that's sort of a Navy SEAL environment for this kind of stuff. That's what's popping into my head is this is hard stuff. To break any pattern is hard. To break a pattern with somebody you were in a relationship with for a long time, which a lot of these relationships have been that way, and with somebody that got divorced after 45 years. That's a long time. 10 kids in 45 years? 2 countries? Good Lord, right? Yeah. There's some patterns there, right? These are hard things, and people would do better in an environment of excellence with coaching and other people with the same goals.
So let's talk a little bit about why we jump back in. Let's talk a little bit about a couple of the things that are our traps that bring us back into this intermittent reinforcement conversation. Because there's an internal parts conversation going on here too. I can hardly do a podcast anymore without bringing this idea in.
Exactly. The parts thing is like changed us.
But there's a part of us that is really worried about the image, our personal image, and what other people will perceive of us if we are unflexible, if we're rigid, if we're not willing to compromise, if we're not willing to work this out. And again, this idea, this concept of what somebody else thinks about me is none of my business, because most other people have not experienced what we're experiencing. They have no idea of what is taking place within us. And we need to stay out of that self-judgment and about not feeling reasonable. It's like, yeah, no, I'd love to be reasonable. This would be my ideal goal, is to sit here and be reasonable and to work with this person and to find ways to really raise our kids together and do this in a way that serves everybody. But I know, and you know now, that this is not a possible piece.
Right.
I was given a presentation to an attorney's office yesterday. And some of the attorneys in there, at least one of the attorneys, didn't know what parallel parenting was. And that's not a slam on them. It's just like, this is not the norm in the world. It's like they're taught and we're taught really to co-parent, to really be in relationship with doing the right thing for the child. And the idea that parallel parenting doesn't do that is a real misnomer. Parallel parenting actually does that. It just does it in a way that the judgment that you have on me doesn't really bother me, and the judgment that I have on you shouldn't bother you. And even better yet, I can drop my judgment on you. I can just take care of business. And to think that that is not an easier path to reducing conflict, is got to be given some thought.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a self-judgment about, and the judgment of what we believe people are looking at is about not being reasonable. And we've got to resolve that both internally and externally.
Hmm. Yeah.
We've got to come to the grips. I mean, the true grips that these are not normal behaviors.
It reminds me a little bit of dealing with special needs children with traditional parenting techniques, or even dealing with children that have been through parental alienation with traditional parenting techniques like tough love or whatever, right? Do you do the same tough love with a child with Down syndrome that you would with a child that's typical or whatever, right? From the parental alienation world, where somebody's bad mouthing the other side, saying they're like an angry alcoholic, let's say, that tough love then can prove what the parent is saying, right? Even though it should work. But it reminds me a little bit like that, where you say the attorneys are expecting co-parenting, which is the same as saying you're expecting all children to be typical children with no issues, right? This X is different. This is a 30% X, not a 70% of the divorces. This is a 30% X, right?
And one of the directions to your point on that is these attorneys are really wanting to speak to the judges around what they think that the judges want to hear.
Yeah.
So there's an educational gap. And I think what's important through all of this is to have the attorneys educate through the bar system, through conferences, through any avenue that they've got, to educate these judges about what parallel parenting is, what high conflict is, so they can start to grasp this. And I think part of it can actually happen, again, when a client can go to an attorney and explain this in a way that the attorney can explain it to a judge.
Yeah.
It's like, I've got this email and it's explosive. And I'd like you to read this email that's explosive. And I want you to tell me what part of that email I needed to respond to.
Mm-hmm.
Or here's an email that's explosive. And all I responded to was received. What else should I have done here?
Yeah.
Because what we're doing here is creating this place of non-engagement. This isn't that I'm not trying to cooperate. I'm just not dancing with the dance.
Yeah. You guys have, do attorneys and judges have continuing education requirements to keep their licenses?
They do, but this arena isn't one of them. I mean, there is a therapeutic component that comes into the attorneys' MCLEs. There is a place of co-parenting, I think, that is in there, but it's not the major piece because this isn't law. We're not talking about law. We're talking about psychology.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem we talked about in the early episodes is many of the cases in the court systems are not about law.
Mm-hmm.
They're about emotional stability and psychology.
Right.
I mean, my case. I mean, we were pretty simple financially. Whether you have big numbers or small numbers, there's complicated financial and there's really, like, we didn't have 782 rental properties and 9 businesses. You know what I mean? We had our stuff in 1 or 2 places, and it would be pretty easy to go like, you get this, you get this, right? And we're 3 years into it, not because it's complicated, because 1 or 2 of us are complicated.
Well, I want to talk. I'll talk to that for just a quick second, Charlie, because this is not about the money. It's about not wanting completion. This isn't about the financial piece, or if it's about the financial piece, it's about the leveraging the children for that. This is about punishment. This is about for what you did wrong. This is, those other components that drive the conflict. And we can't do anything about that part. We just have to stay out of the engagement with it. And your conversation about the finances is I see people stay stuck in this over finances, and the kids are the bat. Kids are the leverage for the punishment to try to get somebody to move.
Ugh.
And we wonder why the children are so pissed off.
Yeah.
Because of this.
Ugh. It is, you've heard me say, I'm like, I feel like I can't get divorced. Like I can't. And maybe there is some finality that hurts a second time for the person on the other side or something like that, the one that's being left, you know what I mean? It just makes them want to stay in the limbo phase. I mean, I guess some relationships when they're going bad, some people are like, I just want to know if we're breaking up or not. Some people are like, I don't even want to hear, because that's a finality that hurts, right?
Right.
It's like a big 3-year version of that. Just so odd.
It's not normal behavior.
Ugh. Yeah.
And on the other side of that whole conversation, we're taught to be nice. I mean, most of us growing up, it's like, don't hit, don't be nasty, work it out, be relational, find ways to win-win, all of this other stuff. And when we come up against this, it's hard to do it. So what our listeners need to do is what, I've done to a great degree, and we're all learning to do, is to do this, to go in a different direction with some knowledge and a vision for the long game.
Is your book available like on your website, or do people buy your book right now, or do they only get it in your office?
Yeah,
or
they can buy it on Amazon. It's available on Amazon.
And can you track that? Can you see as we do this, that other thing, are people downloading, or people buying? You can see it on the back office, right?
Right.
So does it seem like more people should go get that book than have, based on the downloads for listenership and how many people have purchased the book?
Oh, absolutely. There's a big disparity in that.
Okay. So
and that being said, book sales are going up.
Right. And again, I try to say this every single time, like, we're in business, so everything's a sales pitch, right? But it's not an angry or a selfish sales pitch. I mean, the easiest way to dip your toe in the next step, if somebody doesn't want to take a class or hire you for counseling, which we still feel very strongly is an investment that would save them tons of money on legal fees, right? But the easiest step beyond the podcast would be to read the book. How much does the book cost right now?
What, $12, something like that? Maybe
$12. Okay. So I want to encourage people to do that. I've read the book. I'm on my second time through. It's an incredible book. I don't know what it is. I'm an author as well. I have 3 books. I don't know what it is about being able to underline and reread and go at your own pace and not deal with the facial expressions and tonality of a conversation, right? I don't know what it is about not having any of the energy of the other human being and just having their words that makes it so effective, right? Conversation is one thing. It's effective for other stuff. And then books are effective for something else. I think the book is incredible, Brooke, and I want to encourage people to go get it.
It's a simple, easy read. I mean, it's 100 pages, 110 pages at the most. And it's an easy read. It gives you good information that's easily assimilated. And yeah, it's a great next step.
What'd you call it?
Pardon me?
What's the name of the book, so people know?
The name of the book is The Black Hole of High Conflict.
The Black Hole of High Conflict. Or if they search Brooke Olson, I imagine on Amazon, they might get a couple people, but they're going to find everybody can see your beautiful goatee. Yeah. They'll find you.
Yeah. And, the steps, what I'm really trying to give here, Charlie, is I'm not trying to force feed anybody with anything. It's like, pick up this podcast, take some downloads. I've got a couple of free downloads on the internet for short video course. It doesn't do a lot, but it gets you in the motion. There's a booklet in there that you can download it, just look at it, and just kind of let this stuff settle in. And your gut's going to tell you where to go.
Yeah.
Your gut's going to say, this is for me or this isn't. And just, take your time, let it settle in. And know that no matter what you do here, you have choice in how it travels down the road and some choices to when it stops. And don't keep going back and turning on the food machine for the rat.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
Just don't do it. And you know, there's I want to kind of end where we started a little bit earlier with this, is I want you to take in this concept of resting into terror. I mean, they're two diametrically opposed concepts, rest and terror. And, you know, I know that for you, Charlie, your son is into watching terror movies, horror pictures, right?
Yeah.
And there's something in that that soothes his nervous system. It's like, this is fun. This is, you know, so look at it from that perspective. Personally, I hate horror movies, but that could be a place where I could learn something to rest into this and learn how to laugh and just watch.
We do laugh at them.
Just laugh.
We do laugh at them, and then I think I'm applying appropriate sort of human wisdom when I look at other countries, because we're all like, I mean, I grew up in one country, mostly in two towns, right? During one time frame of the, you know, thousands of years or millions, if you want to go that route of human existence. In almost every other setting or time frame, boys by this age had seen either a lot of war or a lot of hunting. And boys making guns when they've never seen one, boys having a more violent tendencies or not being affected by it or it not destroying them the way people think, doesn't really shock me that much, because I'm sure there's some cultures where it was girls too, but the ones I've studied, it was the men going out to war or whatever, right? Just not that shocking that violence doesn't faze them or that they have an interest in that, in war movies or fights or blood or whatever.
I think that there's some interest in it. I don't know that it doesn't phase them. You know, the nervous system, as this stuff comes in, is it has an impact, but how they take it in or how it is perceived as it comes in, I think is the difference in it. You know, so if we're watching a horror movie and it's funny, and there's, you know, I went out and I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood last weekend.
Yeah.
And Quentin Tarantino can't shoot a movie without some gore in it. I mean, it is what he does.
He can't.
And, you know, I'm watching this movie, and I'm not going to give it away to anybody that hasn't seen it. It's a brilliant movie. How he twists it at the end is just phenomenal. But there's this place where it, you know, Tarantino brings in his gore and his stuff, and you sit there, and for me, it was like I just kind of pushed back on it for a minute, and then I just started to laugh my ass off.
Yeah.
Because it was just funny in its expression.
Yeah.
So again, how this is perceived, how this is given to us is a really important thing. And again, it's like I'll give you one more analogy to play with, and a book for everybody that I think that they should read, because it's basically, you know, what we talk about in a nutshell. It's the name of the book is Illusions.
Illusions, okay.
Illusions. And it talks about looking at life through the perspective of watching a movie.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting.
So again, just being present, watching it unfold, and being in this and learning from it and holding good boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Good to wrap up there. Is that what you wanted to say?
That's what I wanted to say.
Very good. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been episode 51. We're on the other side of the first hurdle there to get 50 done. We'll do something special for episode 100, which was, I remember when I hit episode 100, I had huge aspirations and wanted to do all kinds of crazy things. I was, I'll just do another episode. I can't come up with anything special. But we'll be sure to
I'll tell you what we'll do for the 100th episode.
Yeah.
We'll make it free.
We'll make it free. There you go. No charge for that one, right? All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Brooke Olson, Charlie Jewett here, signing off from the High Conflict Co-Parenting Podcast. Stick with it. Don't give the little rat nibbles to them that make them. Don't give them the intermittent. What do you call it? Intermittent reinforcement, right?
Right.
We'll see you next week.
Brooke, people don't have to wait until Friday mornings to get more content. If this is something that's helpful for them, right? This isn't the first time you've broadcast anything or recorded anything or put anything out there in the world. What are the other ways people can get the help more aggressively or speed up their recovery process? What materials are available for people right now?
Well, I've written a book called The Black Hole of High Conflict, and it's available on Amazon and Kindle.
Great.
And everything that we're talking about is really compressed and put into there. So this is a really good starter place to get in and get your mind working and to see what these concepts are about and how to start to apply them. The other place that I think that is valuable is to go to our website and look at some of the blog articles that I've written. Those are available there as well. If they go into some of these other arenas, and that's at www.highconflict.net. So the book, the website are also really good places to get the material. And also we have classes. We have high conflict diversion program classes that you can get into and get some one-on-one help with this as well.
And you know me, I'm aggressive. Whatever I want to become good at or learn, I find someone who's good at it and pay them and hire them and shorten my learning curve. What if somebody just wants your help? Somebody says, Brooke has this information. He's good at something I'm not good at yet, and I want to work with him. Do you have any type of coaching or consultations or anything like that?
Absolutely, I do. I do one-on-one coaching for custody cases. I help people get ready for family court services. If you've got that in your community, I work with attorneys and clients to help them with managing and strategically setting them up to have more successful cases as well.
And how do they reach out? You want them to just go to the website or email or phone, or what's the best way for them to reach out, raise their hand, and say, I need some help?
They can email me. My direct email is brooke@highconflict.net. That's BROOK at highconflict, HIGH, conflict.net.
Perfect. That's everything everybody would need to get some help, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Brooke.